there's something really interesting you said, which was like, you will jump out of your job and actually it will be cheaper just to get hired back. That's a really interesting mentality, because I know there's a lot of people out there that have a really secure job and they have a startup in mind that they want to pursue, but they think it's too much of a risk to leave a job. But you just brushed over it like, yeah, they'll hire me back, no problem. What would you say to them to maybe just give them that little bit of motivation to pursue what they're passionate about?
And there's two things to it. Like when you're in a salaried job, then it's uncomfortable to think of, okay, I'll leave this job and kind of like this, the safe security that comes with it, like with the salary income, and I don't know kind of like how to pay my bills in a few months down the road if I don't have like sort of income from any secured source. And so it feels kind of like it's a big step to take. Normally, when you take this step and you look back, you realize, okay, it was actually not that bad, because maybe you need to adjust your lifestyle a little bit, or maybe you had some like golden handcuffs and you had like a spending behavior that you need to adjust a little bit. But making that change, it feels much bigger before you take the step than after having taken that step and looking back onto it. But the thing was also with Credit Suisse in-house consulting, they were very selective, and that was part of the recruiting process. There was like, for candidates, we had one, like every month there was like a recruiting day, and there were 7 interviews, 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, each 1 hour. And if not the first 4 in the morning said yes to a candidate, the candidate basically was rejected at lunch already, so he didn't even have to attend the next 3. And all 7 had to say yes to a candidate in order for that candidate to get an offer. So it was a very slow and very expensive selection process.
Yeah.
And so if you have such a process, then it's very expensive, and so it's much cheaper to hire somebody back who was already pre-qualified, was already there for a few years. Rocket was the opposite. So Rocket basically says like, look, why do we have to do all of this expense? If you hire 500 people in a year, we can't go through like this type of recruiting process. So they basically just said like, we just hire people that were pre-qualified. So we hire people that made it into these type of jobs, and they've been pre-selected by these companies that have all of these expensive recruiting processes. And so it's much cheaper in a way for them to just hire them out of their jobs. And so for me, it was kind of like clear, okay, I could go back, to Credit Suisse if I wanted to. If it doesn't work out, like after a few months, having spent in Thailand, a nice summer, nice adventure, starting a food delivery company in Asia, I could go back and work again for Credit Suisse, because they were still recruiting and it would have been cheaper. So I think, it's on the one hand, like, don't be afraid to take that step, because it will probably feel like a smaller step once you've taken it than what it feels right now. And if you're in a good job and you went through like a recruiting process and you deliver against your targets in whatever you do, it's most likely that the employer will be happy, to take you back, in normal circumstances at least.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You really just had like the logic behind it to say, yeah, it's fine, I have a parachute if I need to fall back.
Right.
But thankfully you didn't, and you've achieved really great stuff. So
it was fun. Yeah, I mean, it was also like when I was in Asia, like after a few months, my previous manager at Credit Suisse reached out to me and said like, hey, you still haven't sent me your new address, because I still have to send you my like sort of the letter of recommendation,
right,
etc. So for like your future job applications. And I was like, yeah, hopefully, I'll never have to use that letter ever. So
did you tell him?
I told him.
So you were banking on yourself.
Yeah. And so I never used it so far, and I hope I will never. So,